Now, the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report 2013-2014 has again ranked South Africa #1 in the strength of auditing and reporting standards out of 148 countries. However, the report ranks the quality of South Africa's educational system as very poor, only 146th, with the quality of its maths and science education ranked 138th out of 148 economies. Joining me in studio for a closer look at the prospects for South Africa's education to respond to the needs of the economy and the general state of education is Andrew Hannington, CEO of Grant Thornton, Johannesburg. Andrew, it's always a pleasure to have you at the desk. Thank you so much for making the time. Let's perhaps look at this conundrum that is represented by these figures. We clearly have an educational system that is ranked poorly, that doesn't perform well, and yet the country is ranked first in terms of its auditing and accounting standards. Where are we actually getting it right?
Nozi, we're getting it right in the top end of the schooling system. So in grade 1, we'll have 1.2 million students. Going through to matric, 500,000 will write matric, and only 370,000 of those will actually pass matric, of which 80,000 have got maths. About 10,000 of those we reckon go into a BCom, financial accounting, and then a very small percentage of those will go through. We're only graduating just over 1,700 through qualifying as CAs. So it's the top end of the education system. It's your private schools, it's your top state schools, the traditional model C schools, which are offering very, very good education.
But this obviously means that the public schools are the ones that are really pulling down this particular picture. If this is the case, what do you think we should be doing, or the government should be doing, to ensure that public schools are catching up?
That is the million-dollar question. You know, maybe 20–25% of our taxes go on education. I think that there's we had a discussion last night as Grant Thornton with Professor Jonathan Jansen, and he points to the strength of the trade unions in the teacher movement. He's an educationist, and we learned from him last night that there's a serious problem. You know, we're going into an election next year, the tripartite government. It's got a strong labour component, and that's influencing also the education system.
And I guess also the picture just gets a little bit bleaker. I mean, Tuesday we had the GDP numbers for the third quarter coming out, 0.7% recorded in growth as the 1% that was projected. Still, even with the projections, very poor numbers there. In light of that and the fact that that's also likely to see unemployment and other factors rising, do you think South Africa is headed in the right direction?
Certainly not. We find that, you know, in our survey which you did recently for the third quarter of the year, you know, 40% of businesses are saying the unskilled workforce is a serious constraint to business growth. The overall confidence was a low 18% of those responded in our survey are saying that they're confident about the future for South Africa. Follow that by 0.7% GDP. That's really low, well below expectation, all pointing in the wrong direction.
Of course, we always, put these problems at the doorstep of government, and rightfully so, because it is their mandate to actually deliver qualitative education. But I also think that it throws up a gap that business could potentially fill. Do you think business in South Africa has taken up the gauntlet in terms of flexing their responsibility to get some of these indicators right?
Undoubtedly. In the same World Economic Forum survey, where we came in so badly in some of the stats. In fact, we were ranked 17th out of 148 in staff training, in-house training, in training by the private sector, by the public sector. So there's a vast amount of training going on at the moment. As you know, when we pay our taxes, we pay money across to the seaters. We can get some of that back for doing the training, but I don't think it's because of the amount we can get back. I think that Business South Africa sees this training as a way to address this problem of the unskilled workforce.
Of course, a point that you've raised, and this is where we see business and government almost coming together, and this is within the SETAs. But again, the SETAs seem to have performed below par as against the objectives that they're set up against. Do you see these being a permanent feature of South Africa's educational landscape going forward?
See no change in that. There's been no indication from government or from anybody else that they're not working. Huge amounts of money are building up in the cities. It's up to us as private sector to tap into that and see how we can use some of that funding to train the unskilled. Now, we are obviously the top end in a profession. there are 30,000 CAs, of which 3,500 are registered auditors to get you that number one in the world. A small group of people, and you take any of your professions, small group of people, and yet there's a broad base of accounting people out there, accounting technicians, accountants, who come in from the CETA type system, who can get funding from that and upskill themselves. So we need to be training more people.
Andrew, we've heard some voices of discontent, namely BMW, saying that South Africa has become less competitive from a labor perspective and from a skills perspective, and that they were looking to perhaps redirect their foreign direct investment to other countries on the continent. Do you see this as a trend that's about to bubble and continue, or an isolated incident where one auto manufacturer is just had enough?
Zippo, we just sincerely hope as South Africans it's not a trend. We have unofficial unemployment of 37%. This is something we need to address as South Africans. Government's doing a huge amount in South Africa. I'm not a politician. I don't speak for government. But you look at the roads, you look at the housing, you look at the electrification, you look at the water. Government is doing a lot. We're just so negative as South Africans on so many fronts. I jokingly said in an interview a month ago, I guess we need another World Cup to change the psyche of the nation.
Another World Cup? Well, I'm certainly up for that. Andrew, thank you so much for those insights once again.